quick one before we start. If you're sick of living off servo pies and guessing your way through meals on the run, this is going to help. It's Power B from Nature B. It is a full meal replacement shake. We live on it and we thrive on it. It's not a snack, it's actually a meal. And it's got grass-fed whey protein, probiotics for gut health, and it's the only shake in Australia with Nature B's Power Pollen built in. 2 shakes a day. It is that simple. If it doesn't work for you, Nature B gives you your money back, no questions asked. The intro pack's $39.95. There are links in the description. And like anything, it works best alongside regular exercise and a balanced diet. Now, let's get into the episode. Okay, it's time to go trucking again with Rod Hannafy, the road warrior. And we've had a very interesting time with Rod in Dubbo. You may have heard by now. I think many of you have seen the photo of me exiting the passenger side of Rod's Kenworth, and it's not a pretty sight. Rod Hannafy, we're going to introduce a special guest in just a second, but first of all, I need to check in with you. Thank you so much for accommodating myself and the millennial last weekend in Dubbo.
Thank you very much for making the effort to come out, mate. We've been sort of planning it and trying it for a long time, and one day we'll do a serious trip. Maybe Kelsey will have to come because we might not survive, or you might not survive 10 hours. Maybe Kelsey will have to come and do a trip and record it all, because we did go for a run down the road and you did feel a few bumps, but it's not the same as living in there day in, day out, mate. And that's sort of where we struggle to get people to understand those issues, because they don't do it, so they don't care.
It was fascinating, and my God, you're a long way up, and it's a long, long load that you're pulling behind you. The skill that you have, Rod, is amazing.
Mate, I claim to be one of the most passionate truck drivers. I don't claim to be the best. There are blokes out there that have done more and done more miles and done bigger things than I have, and yet none of those skills are recognised by the public. We're just a truck driver to many, and yet, as you say, until you get in there and you see it, and we didn't even look at how to, put the load on and get the weights right and be compliant and all of those things. And you add that on top of, look, back in the day of ACA, when we used to pilot these missiles, these deadly missiles down the road, which was the headline they used, mate, they certainly didn't do us any favours. And, of course, some of the public fear the trucks. And we're not all perfect. We make mistakes too, mate. But the bottom line is, if we taught people how to share the road with trucks, to give us a little bit of room, to have a little bit of empathy and understanding, we would save lives from that day forward.
It was also an absolute pleasure to meet Fergo and his lovely mum, Jackie. I've got to tell you this, Nicky and Jackie have become best mates. God, they don't stop talking.
Well, that's good to hear, mate. That's good to hear, because, of course, his mum drove 8 hours. Having heard that you were coming out to visit, she rang me and said, would you mind if we dropped in and said hello? And I said, geez, mate, if you're going to drive him 8 hours in to do that, there's no doubt we can fit you in and make you welcome. And I'm glad that we did, and you certainly did the same, and Kelsey, Luke. And, of course, then they turned around and drove 8 hours home. So if half of our drivers had that passion in their lives again, we'd have a different industry.
Well, they didn't turn straight round. They stayed the night, and we took everybody out to the Golden Dragon for a Chinese meal. I love a Chinese meal, but I don't know if I'll be going back to the Golden Dragon.
A succulent Chinese meal.
What sort of meal?
A succulent Chinese meal.
But it was great, and it was so good to meet Fergo and his mum, and to get a little taste of what you do for a living, Rod. Now, Rod, you've organised a very special guest, because we have often talked about the lack of facilities that truckies can avail themselves to. And we have found Joe. Well, you found Joe, and Joe is on the line. So, Rod, introduce us to Joe. Joe, welcome to the Bonafide podcast.
I was running up and down the Pacific Highway last week, and at Moorlands there is a truck stop, and it's known as the Tucker Wagon. It's been there for many, many years. It's got an excellent reputation up and down the road. And it's one of those few where many of the staff know the patrons. Blokes go there regularly. They get looked after. And whilst, we don't necessarily understand Joe's issues, and I don't mean Joe personally, but I mean, the issues of running a truck stop and the way that how we interact and those things, as you say, Luke, we've spoken about we need to get their side of the story. So having stopped there for a meal, which I very much enjoyed, I spoke to Jo and asked her would she be prepared to come along and have her say, and she's joined us today to do that. So thanks for the time, Jo, and mate, thanks for running a place there that looks after us, one of the few that are left.
No worries. I try my best.
So you said to me that initially you worked in the service station part and what you saw an opportunity or the bit beside was vacant and you decided you'd take it on. So what made you make that big leap?
Well, they closed it down. It turned empty, and then I just seen potential because I've seen the volume of trucks that were coming through, getting fuel, needed somewhere to eat, shower, and rest up. So I went, I'll give it a go.
So how long have you been running it now?
So we've been here for 6 years now, just going on 6 years.
Where exactly are you, Jo? Whereabouts is your truck stop?
So it's 99 Jericho Road, Moorland.
Where's that?
And it's north of Port Macquarie. It's
South
just
of Port Macquarie.
South, sorry. Yeah, I was going the other way. It's just a tiny little village, really, on the side of the road. So you've actually got to take the Moorlands turn off. Either way, there is a sign either way for the Moorlands turn off. If you're going northbound, you go underneath the freeway, come up the other side, and about 1 kilometre down to the village. There'd be maybe 10 or 20 houses that I can see. There may well be more off into the scrub there, but you only see sort of a few on the highway. And virtually the only commercial operation there is the servo and the tucker wagon, which is beside it. If you're coming southbound, you come off, there's a roundabout and you come up the same way. So you can't see it from the road. You really got to know it's there. But, of course, blokes that have been running the Pacific for many years certainly do. And there was a time a while ago, Luke, where the council, when the road was when Moorlands was bypassed because it was part of the old road, there was a time there when the council said, we're not going to let B doubles go in there. Now, it was the old road, so it was a B double routed road, and the council said, no, we're not going to do it. There had been an issue across the road with a gentleman who didn't like trucks parked there, and there's certainly signs asking people to turn off fridge motors and things like that at night should they stay. But you've got to know it's there, and once you do, well, parking, there's probably room for 3, 6, 9, maybe 10 B doubles. Maybe 10, a couple more if you're really lucky and you squeeze in here and there. So parking's a bit of an issue at times. You've got to be lucky if you get in there at a popular time, you might have to look for a spot. But, mate, they've been there a long time, and Jo, we really appreciate the fact that you make that effort to look after us. So you've been there 6 years. What's the best part of it and what's the worst?
I just like seeing, people go out happy, well-fed, enjoyed their food, hearing comments back like it's the best on the highway, seeing people walk out content, happy, rested.
Jo, we often talk about the lack of healthy food for truckies. It's very easy to get quick food that's going to, raise your cholesterol, put on weight, food that fills you up quickly, but then shortly afterwards you're hungry again. So how did you figure out what to put on the menu and what sort of healthy options do you have?
I looked at what was there previously and I thought, well, every man and the dog can stop at no regard to McDonald's or KFC or anything. But when you're a truck driver or on the road all the time, you need a good, healthy feeling food. So I thought veggies, mash, salad.
What's the most popular meal that people order?
Probably between your veggies, mash and steak or chicken schnitzel.
Classic.
Because Rod and I were talking many years ago about a big service station just up the road on the M1, and it has Hungry Jack's, McDonald's or KFC, and then next to it had Oliver's. And Oliver's was supposed to be a healthy option food vendor. And they started to go broke. And the fact of the matter is, even though that healthy option was there, people were still choosing to go to the fast food big chains. And it was very sad, Rod, wasn't it?
It certainly was. They tried and they didn't succeed. And look, many years ago, one of the fuel companies started a healthy thing on the road. They tried it for a while, but not enough people bought it. So obviously, if it doesn't sell, they're not going to take the effort to put it in there. I've got to say, Jo, I actually would like to suggest, I don't know whether you have a Caesar salad. I see seem to be a little bit more popular with some drivers now.
We've got a Caesar salad.
There you go. I didn't know that. I didn't see that. I'll have to
Didn't
try
read
that
the
next
menu.
time. Exactly. Well, I knew what I wanted. I went in for rissoles, and then I did have, I think I had a chicken schnitzel one day as well. So they've got like a lovely little restaurant there. There's probably, 10, 15 tables, Joe. There's a TV. They've got the industry magazines. In the past, when COVID came along, we spoke about some of the problems COVID had, and you had a couple of issues with that as well, Joe, and the way that we were treated. Like, how were you supposed to eat that veggies and steak in a bloody plastic tray on your lap? It was just ridiculous the way that we were treated. They wanted us to keep delivering everything, but not to be able to get decent food into us to have fuel for the people. So how did you go with COVID, Joe?
That was a bit frustrating just to see people like truck drivers having to eat out of a foam container with plastic knives and forks, and they're allocated and they potentially have to have a break. Really, having a break means, sit down, have a hearty meal, relax for a bit. But how can you relax when you're sitting on the side of a highway or a road on your fuel tank with a plastic bowl of food? It's just, not right.
Yeah, it was really bad. Yeah, Australia still wanted its groceries and, during COVID, its toilet paper, but they treated the truckies really badly. I've got to ask you this. I'm glad to hear that you've got rissoles because they're Rod's favourites.
Homemade ones.
Yeah, what's your recipe? What is the Tucker Wagon rissole recipe, or is it like Colonel Sanders with his 11 different herbs and spices? Is it a secret?
Well, no. It's basic, but it's got a couple of little hidden hints to it.
How good was it, Rod?
We'll keep them a secret. Oh, mate, they were lovely.
And gravy?
I like salad. Yes, absolutely. A few chips and gravy and salad. Beetroot and onion and tomato, and that's the good have beetroot. So, Look, it's really good. And the atmosphere there is good, Luke. Like, some of the places now are a little bit more remote, I suppose. You feel that bit isolated. And how you're supposed to recharge your battery, and I mean that figuratively. You're stuck in the truck on your own. You've got, the road, you're watching, your stress levels are up all the time, watching for idiots trying to kill you and all that sort of stuff, and what part of the road's going to fail and how you avoid it. But you sit down there, it's a close, friendly atmosphere. I had one bloke actually ask me, are you Rod? And we had a chat. I had another bloke sit down and share the table. He actually said, mate, not many seats left. Can I share the table? Yeah, mate, good on you. And you say g'day, and that's something that's been lost. And that's where the Tucker Wagon is one of those few that has it set up just the right way. You don't have to sit beside someone and hold their hand and ask how they're feeling, but you can if you want to. And it's one of those few places left like that. So, look, I've got to say, Joe, we really appreciate what you do, but is there anything particular? Like, do you have a problem that the drivers can help with, or is there something you would like us to do better?
Not really, because I do say 99% of the truck drivers that come into the place, the most wonderful people ever. They're always polite, always respectful, and I'm a big believer in if it's a give and take thing, you be respectful and polite, we do it back.
That's good. You don't have anybody stealing your shower heads, do you?
Oh, yeah.
No, not yet.
Thank goodness.
Oh, my God. Hey, can I ask you?
Do it now because we raised it.
Joe, can I ask you, do you do doggy bags?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You got to, especially if it's a T-bone, you only want half of it.
They're very large.
Interestingly, I put up just a short clip of Rod and Luke in the truck, a little teaser, and there were comments on there, Rod, saying that your cab was had too much stuff in it. But I was thinking when I saw it, if you've got nowhere on the road to stop and do all that, you kind of have to make your truck your home. You kind of have to have all of, the things in it that you would if you were camping almost, and
it's your home.
Yeah. I don't get that type of criticism.
Comment. Look, there's two sides to it. There are one, and the newer trucks have a big info display that has everything on it, whereas mine's got all the old gauges, but then I've added 4 or 5 different things. So I have different sponsors, checkway scales and others that provide things, and that means another display so I can check me weights. I've got one to use mapping and that sort of things, and not everybody has them. And particularly if you're in a company truck where they buy it at the cheapest price, you just get the basic. That's to do with all the tech stuff. And then, of course, I've got a fridge in the middle. Now, because I have a big cab Kenworth, you can't reach the fridge under the bunk. Look, in a normal Kenworth, your fridge is virtually at arm's length and grab a drink as you go along. I can't reach that, so I've put a big fridge in the middle. And I've actually had, even Fergo said, mate, how do you get into the bunk? Now, you only get in and out of the bunk once at night and once in the morning. But I want to be able to grab a drink or grab a snack or, grab a biscuit or something as I drive along. So, yes, it takes away some of the room and it might look a little bit congested, but, mate, I'm the one living in there, and if you don't like it, you don't have to get in there.
I didn't ask you, Joe, how much for rissoles, gravy, chips and salad?
$28. Rissoles, chips and salad, and then we're giving you option of adding the gravy and the bread and butter that decides on us.
I'm sure you would see lots of truckies pull up, right, at the truck stop.
Yep.
Are the skills of truckies parking all the same, or have you seen some doozies?
Oh, there's all sorts. There's all sorts. You see it all. There's a lot of variety.
I must admit, Luke, the bloke looked at me rather strange. I said, I'll buy a 2-litre bottle of milk and give us a couple of squirts of chocolate flavouring in it, because
That's
by the
so
time you
weird.
buy 2 litres of milk, it lasts a lot longer than a coffee.
That was
so
me, actually.
weird.
Yes. Oh, well, I did it again the other day, mate. You weren't there when I stopped on the way up on Thursday, so they looked at me rather strange.
No,
That is strange.
No, that makes perfect sense. When Kelsey's mum and I went to school, our tuck shop, this is back in the 70s, Kelsey, one of the options was a pint of milk in a glass bottle, and you would get a little plastic cup, like a shot size, with flavouring. And you had 2 to choose from, strawberry or chocolate. So you had to carefully get the lid off, scull a bit of the top of the milk, pour your flavouring in, preserve the top, because that had to go back on and you'd shake it.
Yeah.
And that was a big staple of our tuck shop at Narrabeen High.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know why we didn't have chocolate milk. But
Don't know, a new invention, I guess.
yeah, milk and flavourings. No, I'm with you.
Yes, no, I stopped there on Thursday on the way up, Joe, and you weren't there, but that's all good, mate. So, look, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate the service that you provide for us. And, mate, that I hope that it continues to serve you well and that the truckies do the right thing when they're there.
No worries.
Thank you, Joe. Well, there she is. Joe from the Tucker Wagon. Where is it again, Rod?
Look for the Moorlands
And you can
exit.
phone ahead. Now, Rod, time for the mailbox. We got a message here from Mickey. G'day, Luke and Millennial. I'm going to attach a picture which could go with your Truckie Tuesday. What it shows is a service or slip road as you come out of the Masonite Road round at the Heatherbray heading southbound. That's where they make the pies.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I got wiped out of that roundabout nearly. It was frightening. Yeah. Anyway, as I drive buses for a living, I couldn't access my stop where I had a passenger waiting, who even advised the driver the bus was approaching and he kept walking, not wanting to care. My passenger had to hop on in the middle of the road, and then I had to manoeuvre between the two. It's becoming quite regular and common now, and this was during the PM peak.
So, Rod, this is a bus driver.
Yes.
And he seems to be having some issues where trucks are parking. What do you think about that?
Mate, he's right. But what he's saying is that's the problem, that there is nowhere else to park. So I loaded within a kilometre of that site the other day. I've been past there. I've never actually driven up that slip road, but there is a servo there. There is fast food. And if you've missed Moorlands on your way south, you've virtually got nothing except a couple of truck stops. The one at Beresfield's on the wrong side. You've got to go and do a great big loop to get into that. The little fish and chip van that used to be there, used to be very popular. It's disappeared with all the roadworks. I don't know where it's gone or whether it'll come back. But the problem is, if you're in a truck and you've got nothing else to eat, you've got nothing from there to Wyong, so you've got at least another hour sort of on the road, depending on where you've come from, and then you're going into Sydney, and there's nowhere in Sydney until you get there, and then you can't get a park at Eastern Creek, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel for him, and then I'd ask our blokes to try and do the right thing where they can. But, of course, if there's nowhere to park, they think, oh, I'll only be here a minute, and I'll run in and grab something and I'll get out of the way. And perhaps they really haven't considered the problem with the bus drivers. So, if you can do the right thing and leave the bus stop empty, that's good. If we knew what the timetable for the buses were, well, we might be a little bit more understanding. But, if a bloke's turned up there's no bus, he thinks, I'll only be 2 minutes. And, of course, Murphy's Law is the bus will turn up while he's there. So I apologise to him for the inconvenience. but I ask that he has a little bit of empathy because he gets to go home and have a decent meal and sleep with his wife or his family and visit them and watch TV, and we get to sit in the truck.
We've got a message from John. Hi, Luke. If you're doing a story about the state of the trucking industry, given all these recent companies going broke, well, one reason is because it's not an even playing field for the honest operators. Example, I did 2 tar cutter changeovers in a single trailer for a Sydney container operator. He didn't induct me into his payroll. I don't have an ABN, and that was not part of our discussion, nor would I have worked under such an arrangement. I assumed I'd be paid award wages. I worked on January 29 and 30. Despite several polite follow-ups of the whereabouts of my wages, the owner, a family business, has been evasive. There is no skill in running a trucking business when you can get away with not paying employees for work they have done in good faith. Imagine an Aussie family business stealing wages from another Aussie family. Not saying he's done that yet, but the normal pay cycle has passed and I am still chasing. Makes me sick, and that's the last shift I'll ever do in a truck. I'm a retired airline pilot and now a retired part-time casual truckie. Rod, your response?
And when that happens, we lose another bloke who's obviously had the skills to do the job. I must say he assumed, we know where that leads you, and that's where he is, and we hope that he gets paid for the job he's done. That's only fair and reasonable. I think one thing is you got to be a little bit more forceful up front, how much, particularly when it's a casual thing. It's not like you've been there a month and then you think, oh, geez, I wonder why I'm getting paid here after I've been here a month. You ask, what's the job pay? How do you pay, mate? Make sure that you're going to get paid for it. You're going to do the work. Make sure you're going to get paid. So I'm sorry that he's done that. Obviously, by the time he goes to the small claims tribunal, he'll be probably a long way retired. Whether should be able to report those people if that's the case, if that's the way the bloke's set up. And look, we discussed Ron Crouch's setup. He's come out and said, look, he's thankful that all these people have got a job. He's still blaming not just sham contracting, but others. But if a company can advertise in a magazine and say, we want you to come and work for us under an ABN, the ATO should be on their doorstep the following morning and say, I want to see your records because we think you're ripping off the system. And they're not just ripping off the drivers, they're ripping off the government as well. So you'd think there would be enough incentive for them to get out there and actually do something, wouldn't you?
You would think when it's advertised like that, it would be easy, as you say, to follow up and police.
In the past, it was hidden. A few people did it. Few people knew, a few people survived on it. Now it is so blatant, it is to the point that we're in a race to the bottom. And look, in the last 3 days, I've had 3 different people say, I am really concerned where it's going. We're in a race to the bottom. The costs are going up, and yet the returns are going down. That's why we are losing these companies out of the industry, and it scares me who's going to replace them if they do get replaced at all.
Some truckie news, Rod. Pickles announces a receivership auction for liquidators. Pickles has announced it will manage a major transport sale involving more than 80 assets for a transport operator that has appointed a liquidator. What do you know about this?
Nothing at all, mate. I haven't heard that one yet. We know that there's been a few, so they haven't given a name.
An ASIC notice on November 26 last year confirmed All Road Transport had appointed a liquidator, with Pickles now appointed to manage the major receivership transport asset sale.
Yeah.
Does that mean the company stays open?
No, the trucks are up for sale. They've been liquidated. They've been shut down. And then the assets are for sale to cover the costs of the debt. And look, there are some of them out there with enormous debts. All Road was one of the ones that was announced late last year, I think. And then now they've gone through that process of what's available. They've probably sold their buildings or their assets or whatever it is, and now the trucks are what's left. And again, 3-4 years ago, you were waiting 2 years to get a new Kenworth. People couldn't get them. The price of a second-hand one when people went to auction was worth more than a new one. The trouble now is that there are so many second-hand trucks available where companies have faltered. That means somebody goes in, and because there's so many, it's a buyer's market. So, no, I'm not paying that for it, mate. No. And you go and find another one. Yeah. Then they buy it cheaper. Then they bought it cheaper and they go out thinking, I'm going to start a transport company because I bought this cheap so I can run cheap. So I'll go out and I'll undercut somebody to get some work. And then, of course, that drops the rate again and we go down and down, that race to the bottom, mate. And this is just making it worse.
Isn't that such a canary in the coal mine, though, that like there's now like a surplus of Kenworth trucks? I feel like it's such a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, and look, somebody gave that exact same analogy the other day. The trouble is that the canary's still standing when he should be laying on his back dead, and everybody should be saying there's a problem. We need to fix this. And at the moment, whilst ever the toilet paper turns up in the shelves, nobody cares. That the public don't care.
Yeah.
That Ron Crouch has lost his family business of 70 years. That the politicians don't care. Their dinner's still going to turn up on the plate in Canberra. The motorist doesn't care because there's still going to be fuel in the servo. But I tell you what, mate, in a few years' time, because of the fact we are losing passionate and dedicated family people that have been in it for years, and we're replacing them with people who think it's just a job, I'm just going to drive the truck, piss off out of my way, there are going to be more accidents, there are going to be more deaths, there are going to be more companies going broke, more families destroyed, and at some point in the future, somebody's going to turn around and go, oh, shit, what happened here? Why have the transport costs now got doubled and gone through the roof because there's no one left to do it? Now, a mate spoke to me yesterday about country carriers, people who live in the country towns. They cart the wool in from they cart the grain in, but then they turn around and they bring the food out for the supermarket. They bring the hardware stuff out for the hardware store. They bring the building materials out so you can build your new house or your shed. And they're starting to feel it as well. And when they start disappearing, mate, those country towns are going to see such a change in their way of life, they won't know what hit them.
Yeah. Another story, this comes out of Victoria, and it involves WorkSafe Victoria, Rod. A Victorian crane truck company has been convicted and fined of $200,000 after a truck driver was seriously injured while performing high-risk work without a licence or supervision. The court heard that on the day before the incident, the truck driver advised his supervisor he was not comfortable making the delivery by himself and was told he'd lose his job if he didn't do it.
Right, so we don't know exactly what it was. It was high-risk work and he was doing it on his own, so he's got no one there to help and guide him. He's done the right thing. He's notified the employer that, look, I've got a bit of a concern about this. And, of course, then they threaten him with the sack if he doesn't do it. Now, again, he's been injured. Had he turned around and said, I'm not doing it, he would have lost his job. The next bloke hopefully would have said the same thing, and maybe the employer would have gone, shit, I better do something about this. But he's gone ahead in good faith, in blind faith, geez, I've got to feed me family, I need this job. And look where it's ended up. Now there are other times where people die, or become quadriplegics or get seriously injured and never work again when you think there's a risk. Now, years ago, have you ever heard of the Take 5 campaign, Luke?
Yeah, remind me, I have.
Yeah, it was a safety thing. Look, Mobil used to have it years ago in the days of tankers, and others have used similar things. And it's like you assess the risk, you assess is there, any way to mitigate the risk, you make sure you're safe, you notify people what you're doing, and you do the job safely. And it depends on what words you use and who changed it and, who else as you saw what you use. But that sort of risk strategy, and, of course, the way the industry is going in this new HVNL2 that comes out later this year, companies are going to have an SMS, a safety management system. Now, we would like to think that everybody's safe. WorkCover's obviously proved in this incident that the bloke wasn't. He had the right to be concerned. He probably shouldn't have done it. Easy for us to say. But with an SMS, not only are you going to have all this stuff documented, it must be continuous improvement. So you can't write your SMS, stick it in the drawer and leave it there, and in 12 months' time when a bloke gets hurt, yeah, mate, yeah, we did that 12 months ago. It's in the drawer. You're going to have to prove that you knew what your people were doing, that they were doing it safely, and that you are responsible for their safety. And look, that's going to be a big change. Some people say it's a step too far. It depends on how it's managed, Luke. You know, if you've got work cover come out and stand over you with a stick and give you a big fine when you blinked, well, then that's wrong. But if it's not done properly and people's safety isn't concerned and considered, then we see these incidents happening when somebody says, well, I don't have to do it, but if you don't do it, I'm going to sack you. And, of course, in this instance, I bet you the boss wouldn't have done it himself, would he?
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff. Rod, thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for last week in Dubbo. And we can't wait to get Fergo back on because he's part of our team now. I've got to ask you, did you eat your leftovers, your beef and black bean sauce with special fried rice? I got a container for you. Because we ordered way too much food. Did you put it in your fridge in your truck and then mic it and eat it?
I ate it the next day, mate. I ate it the next day. But I also do have one event. We've got our National Road Freighters Conference coming up in Wollongong on the 21st, 22nd of the week, that weekend in Saturday. If you go to our webpage or to our Facebook page, there are tickets available. You've got to buy a ticket to attend either for the conference on the day or the conference and the dinner. We've got some really good speakers. True Ross, who is from Ross Transport in Wollongong. She's speaking. I believe we have I think he's the Assistant New South Wales Police Commissioner. Please hope I got that right. But yes, we've got some good speakers, some good people there. It will be an informative day and a lovely dinner that night if someone's interested to come along and consider the NRFA and take part.
Rod Hannafy, always a pleasure. Thank you, buddy. You drive safely and we will catch up down the road.
I'll go back to finishing my gates now, Luke. I was banging away just when Kelsey rang, so I've got to finish my gates and then I'm off to go and have lunch with my son for his birthday.
Oh, beautiful. Have a great day. To you.
Good on you.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rod's son. What's his name?
Balen, B-A-L-E-N.
Balen. Happy birthday, Balen. Thank you so much, Rod. Safe trucking.
Safe travelling to all, mate.
So remember, if you want something easy that actually fits into a busy day, check out Power B from Nature B. Full meal replacement. Chocolate flavour, 2 shakes a day. The intro pack's only $39.95 and it comes with a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. If you don't like it, the links are in the description. And like anything, it works best alongside regular exercise and a balanced diet.